This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Wondery.
Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
This episode brought to you by the following patron. Oh my God, she's back again. Leaf Girl, Min, Jason, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Lauren, Libby, Kristen, Tia, and Jonathan. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome horror virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we'll be singing various Patreon names daily. Paige, do you think it was weird that Emily Blunt, literally the morning after her husband died, just decided to go shack up with Cillian Murphy? Like, I get it, but like, wow.
Not only that, hike.
I do love your long-standing relationship with Hike. And when I say that, I mean hate for Hike.
Hate.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week we watched A Quiet Place 2. Or should we say A Quiet Place 2? So, Paige, what did you think about A Quiet Place 2? Was this the first time you saw it?
This is the first time I'd seen it.
Me too.
And Mikey told us, he was like, because Mikey's downstairs.
He actually just went to go for a run.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're recording this at Panic Fest, or not at Panic Fest, but
right
at the Airbnb from Panic Fest. And Mikey is here for Panic Fest.
Yes. But he was like, skip it and go to the prequel because it's basically the same movie. Now, here's the thing. I will say that half of this movie is a different movie, but only half. And that's part of it. Here's one thing I was struck by. The performances in this are incredible. Performances.
Of course.
Just like the first one.
Yeah, I'm going to say, like, even if this is it feels a little bit of a reskin of the first movie, the first movie's really good.
The first movie's so good. Yeah.
So, like, this is still a really good movie. And it's been so long since I've seen the first one.
Same.
That, like, I didn't mind it that much. But if you shotgunned them back to back, I bet you'd be like, ooh, this is kind of the same notes over and over. Although I think, Reagan decided that Cillian was worth saving instead of her dad, But like,
I mean, yeah, technically.
But, it is what it is. I get it. Yeah.
Here's the one thing, and I know this was the case with the first movie, but I felt it even more with this movie. It is very hard to do sound design so well that it's noticeable.
Oh, Paige. Agree.
And they do it. Like,
I came across something insane while I was looking for like box office stuff. And what I came across was that they did all of the post-production work from like, they had just finished filming to release date in 5 months, which is insane.
That's seemingly impossible.
That's so fast. And it's still really good. It doesn't feel like they rushed it,
No.
I don't mean it that way. Like, it's good.
It feels thoughtful.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like somebody thought about this and took the time.
Yeah.
The Foley work happening in this movie. And again, sound is one of those things that I feel like you often take for granted in a movie, just in general.
I think that's because most people do sound so well nowadays.
Right.
But like if you go back to 70s movies, and specifically I'm talking about the ones that don't hold up.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons they don't hold up is because audio quality has gotten so much better, and audiences today are like spoiled by it and don't even think about it. That's how spoiled by it we are. We don't even consider it.
Right.
But like if you've ever recorded a podcast or listened to a podcast that didn't nail the sound, like and it sucks and your ears hate it. But like this movie does a great job with all of that.
Incredible. I would say I'll call it the A plot of the older daughter and Cillian Murphy trying to make their way to that island to then broadcast.
Yeah, they're trying to save the world, literally. Yeah.
Right. And that feels like a natural progression from the first movie. It's not necessarily reskinned. That feels like a grander scale of like, now that I know this thing, I'm going to try and take it and save the world.
Yes.
They don't have much fuck all for Emily Blunt to do while she does that. And so that's why we get basically the same movie and over again.
Yeah.
But I thought the whole first act where we kind of relived day one with them was incredible.
I understand why they made a prequel after seeing that first day once like segment or cold open really.
Oh God, yes.
Because that shit is so
fucking terrifying.
Scary. Like Johnny K shows up to a baseball game late and it seems like he and his wife are separated. Like they don't seem like they're married. Like I'm a little confused as to whose child it is based upon how they handle each other at the baseball game.
I had questions.
Because I think it might be Killian's child. And I realized that's a super hot take.
Yes, because when she opens the box later, but then I was like 474. That means she got pregnant while it was quiet. So like,
right. So that's like, that's my whole, like, there's no way it can be Killian's baby, right? Because but I do think there is a chance they were separated or divorced. And just because of day one, they got back together to protect the kids and maybe sort of fell back in love, which is why I want day one to be like a rom-com during the initial invasion. Like he and his wife figuring their shit out and getting back together and making a baby in the worst time possible.
Worst time possible. I feel like this is why you would like Love and Monsters, because that is kind of what you've described, is that two people who find each other when the world is falling apart, and then one tries to get back to the other person and learns more about themselves in the process.
Love it. But
yeah, well, and here's the thing. I didn't know if they were separated necessarily, but as much as it felt like the mundanity of day-to-day life in a relationship you've been in for a long time.
They have a kid that's like, how old do you think Reagan is playing in the movie? Like 16, like 14, 15, 16, like right around there?
Easily.
Yeah. So they've been married probably at least 16 years, probably like 20 years.
Right.
You know, they've been married. They've probably been together 20, 25 years, you know?
Right.
So yeah, like they could also just be married in the routine because at the point the movie kicks off, like nothing bad has happened yet. Except, you know, maybe they're separated, but that's not end of the world bad, you know, like.
And here's the thing. I don't even know if it's separated so much as like, I was struck by the thought of like, how many times have like growing up or whatever, we had to take separate cars because we had to be at two different places.
Oh yeah.
Before this. And then we ended up here. And if something just happened, your family would be separated and there's nothing you could do about it.
Well, yeah.
Like that, just by pure chance of like, we had to take a different car today. Like, oh
yeah, it's terrifying. Like the whole thing is very scary. The whole initial attack is very scary. So like, I'd imagine day one is going to be filled with a lot of great lore shit and a lot of great like action and scary stuff.
And it's Lupita Nyong'o.
Oh, I did know that because I watched this on Paramount Plus, and it suggested I watch the prequel right after it, and I didn't because we had to record or whatever. But like when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, she's so good. Like I bet it's a great movie.
When my eyes popped open this morning, I had a fleeting thought of, what if Todd watched the wrong one and instead of recording, he's going to have to watch the right one, and then I'm going to watch the prequel, and then we'll do both of them.
Paige, I would never do that again. There still is an episode out there I fully recorded and had not watched the movie we were supposed to watch. I had watched another one.
I know which one it is. No one will ever guess it, but I am secure in that knowledge.
I told you and Mikey.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I do have some problems with the movie, some things that like really bothered me about the movie.
Great. Let's get into it.
Yeah, because the radio station on the island or whatever, I was like, oh, it's just like a repeater station, which like doesn't have a place for a DJ to sit down and talk or anything, but it just like repeats the radio signal.
Right.
And I assumed, I don't know if this is the case, but like, yeah, sure, there'd be one of those super on the coast or on an island to broadcast it out as far into sea as it can, right? That makes sense.
Right.
When we get to the radio station, it has like a full DJ booth.
It's a full radio station.
So they are playing a song from like the 60s or 50s to try and give people the clue to come to the island when they could just full ass be sitting there saying, hey, come to the island, it's safe. Take a quiet boat.
I thought about the same thing.
I was like, what? I thought someone had just like hacked into the repeater station with like their iPod or whatever and were playing that song on a loop because they couldn't talk.
Right.
They are the worst survivors I've ever seen. It's hilarious.
Here's why I think the movie does that. And I'm not saying it's right. It's still bad. But like, I think their thinking is, well, we don't want, because there's violent survivors and then there's these people who are definitely a cult and we just haven't figured it out yet because we only met them at the end of the movie. But like, I think the movie thinks that they only want peaceful survivors to come to this island. And for some reason, they think that that's the only people who could crack the code. And that's nonsense.
That's so dumb. You don't think that like bad people are smart? Like what?
Right? Yes.
Did they never meet Bobby Darin? I actually don't know if Bobby Darin was a bad dude, but it would have been funny if he was a monster.
I don't think he was, but that'd be pretty funny. But I think that's what the movie thinks. Because and here's the thing, admittedly, even nice, good people would have trouble with this because like they didn't even hear the radio broadcast until this movie because of where they've moved.
Right.
In just the local topography. So like her dad didn't hear it. And if he had, he probably would have tried to do
of course.
This.
Yeah.
Is what the movie implies.
And I think I may be remembering this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they've only been broadcasting for like 4 months.
Yeah.
So like maybe they didn't know the radio station was there and then they like came across it and were like, oh shit, let's not tell everyone where they can come. Let's create a convoluted clue via a 1950s song. But I mean, it worked out.
Right. Instead of like, hey, okay, some of us are going to have to be security and immigration reform on this tiny island.
Yes.
So that when we tell people where to come, we have, hey, this is the rules of our tiny cult. You coming or not? Like that's
Paige,
what it would have to be.
How gross is it that they're like really concerned about their borders to keep these illegal aliens out of their land?
Right.
I didn't even think about that when it happened, but I was like, damn, that boat floated all the way over from like, I'm not going to say Cuba, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like it floated all the way over.
Well, yeah, from wherever they were to however they ended up on the island off the shore.
Which I do believe it could do that because it very much, they even show us a map. Like it is very close to the island.
It's right off the shore.
And they take a rowboat, which like you could take a rowboat long distances, but like they don't take it.
No, it's not that far.
Like it's not a huge passes of time by the time they leave the dock area and the time they get to the shore.
Right.
So like, yeah. But the reason I'm upset about the whole radio thing is because they deprived me of my first acting credit. Because you don't think I would be a great DJ at the end of the world? I'd be like, welcome back to WTF Radio, the last known source of life, broadcasting from beyond the sea. Like 100% that would be me.
Yeah, it's you and then the girl from Night of the Comet at the mall. Like,
her name is Reg. Yeah, from Reg. Yeah, absolutely.
Reg, yes.
This is DJ Smith, still alive, somehow not eaten. If you're hearing this, congrats. Your ears work and your radio does too. That's 3 more things than most people have these days. Now sit back, shut up, and try not to knock over anything metal while we spin the only track brought to you by Bobby Darin, Beyond the Sea. 100%, that'd be great.
Hi. I'd like to call in with a request for my boyfriend. We've been together for 4 years, but he's the love of my life. I know you're out there listening, AJ. I'd like to hear Beyond the Sea.
Well, thank God you picked the one song that wasn't destroyed by the apocalypse, because apparently cockroaches and Bobby Darin are the only thing that can survive it.
Yes.
Just like slowly going mad as you play the same song locked in a DJ booth.
All day long. Well, and here's the thing. That DJ booth had a ton of other songs. You could have just had a radio show that's like, it's Survivor Radio. Come to this place. Do the, like.
Well, 100%. You could do like pirate radio at the end of the world, which would have been a cool premise too, but it's not.
Honestly, that's kind of a cooler movie premise now that I think about it.
Well, that to me is more of a fun movie premise because then you can inject a lot of comedy through that DJ character, which I, of course, would do. Like calling it WTF Radio, like 100%. It would be so much fun.
Yeah.
I do really, now that we've talked about how they're trying to keep the illegal aliens off their island, now all I'm thinking about is like a Rush Limbaugh style talk DJ.
Yeah.
Who is like, sounds racist, but he's really talking about the aliens that are here killing
like the actual aliens.
Yeah.
Just Yaiman Hansu in that booth, like they're not saying their best.
I'm sick of these darkies going around killing people in the streets. Like, whoa. Oh, you mean the aliens. Okay.
These weird spider-legged bad hombres.
Exactly.
Now, here's the other thing. The movie at one point says, once they learned they can't swim, they started putting everybody on boats. We see one swim.
We see it struggle and stop. Like I think that one drowns.
You think that? Oh, okay, that maybe I was wrong because I thought it climbed back onto the dock. But I guess that makes sense.
Which is wild, Paige. I mean, presumably these aliens have like nailed intergalactic space flight, and they are flummoxed by water that's head deep.
Where have we heard that before? Signs. They also had a problem with water and Signs.
I know. No. It's worse in Signs because they're flummoxed by a glass of water. That's way less water. Like that's...
Well, you can die in just a couple teaspoons of water. Like if you're face down.
I think it's going to take more than a couple teaspoons. Like I think it's going to take more than you could like feasibly breathe into your lungs and your body could process out. You're not wrong. It does take very little bit of water. You're not wrong. I think more than a few teaspoons though.
I think it's something where like if you're face down in a puddle, like it's a shockingly small amount just because it blocks all your airways.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. You can't breathe through your butthole, Paige. What are you thinking?
Not yet.
They call it my back snorkel.
I mean, I'm calling it my ninth eye.
What? How many eyes? We can't get into this, Paige. We cannot.
Look, I think there's 8 chakras. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong, but that one seems like the 9th.
Now I'm literally riffing in my head on like things that the DJ would say, and that's all I can think about. Like, and yes, I said DJ Smith because I want him to be Will Smith from Independence Day and just be like,
or I Am Legend.
Oh no, specifically from Independence Day, where he says, "Welcome to Earth," right after or before he punches the alien in the face.
You're listening to K-Earth.
I like WTF Radio. I mean, I think that works pretty well.
WTF Radio is perfect. Yeah. There was just a K-Earth growing up back home, so K-Earth.
I fully think if it was me at the end of the world, I would fully already have a different name for the Earth, and it would be Todd-centric. I am a bad person. I know that, but it would be. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, that's your time. That's your time to rename it whatever you want.
Although now that I'm thinking about it, I'm DJ Smith. Welcome to Earth.
Right? Welcome to Earth.
Then just go into, yeah, I love it. Okay, whatever.
Anyway, we'll be breaking in with broadcasts throughout the day to keep you on track for your drive time. It's currently 8:47 a.m. We're looking at cloudy skies, and how's our eye in the sky over there over the freeway, Todd?
Hope you guys made it out pretty good in this, what we've just been calling the screaming year. But if you look from up above the water tower, you can see it looks pretty bad out there. And by that, I mean dead. There's not much. But guys, enjoy this classic hit while trying not to wonder why Bobby Darin didn't record a B-side to Beyond the Sea. Just like spinning it again.
And listen for the blood-curdling scream to be our 5th caller to get you the antidote for the diseases and also a one-way trip to Colt Island.
There's no way that the guy he dies getting them or after he gets them to the radio station.
Yeah.
I like his character, but like...
His character's great, but a little too optimistic.
Yes.
But also don't know how to work the radio, apparently.
Well, not everyone's smart, but to me, it made me feel like he was the leader of the...
Yes.
I didn't say cult, I meant like the island, but like I could see it, especially because he's kind of hot, like I could see it becoming like a fuck island or Temptation Island, maybe, kind of situation.
See, here's why I'm glad we're recording this morning, because there was a debate. That means later tonight we can either either do karaoke or whatever we're doing at Panic Fest.
Yes.
Or
please
get drunk and watch Temptation Island.
Honestly, both of those sound like great times for different reasons.
Is the delusion in the room with us?
No, but the what are these monsters called? Do they have names?
I just have monster in my notes. I mean, they're
Yeah.
aliens, and they seem to be made of ears.
Well, ears and like bulletproof shielding on some level.
Right,
Yeah.
because it needs it to open, and that's
Yes, that's really the secret behind the sound. The sound doesn't kill them; it just makes them vulnerable, which I kind of like. I think that's cool.
Right.
But like, had the army, this is why I want to watch Day One, honestly.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like I think, and I don't know, but I really hope we get like some scenes with like the military's response and like why it failed, you know?
Right,
and
right.
I get that it would fail, but I need someone to explain why there wasn't a nerd in the room. Like, I don't know, maybe we throw a radio signal at its face. Like,
Well,
I bet they would be trying everything.
I was going to say, we all know. And I'm like, no, Paige, we don't. Only nerds that watch too much History Channel know. In the 1960s, the government did test a sonic weapon that is basically a large version of what she builds. And so I have to imagine we would have tried it at some point.
Yeah.
But here's my pitch for how you could have a Quiet Place franchise that doesn't relitigate the same beats over and over again. I understand why they did it for this movie, because the first one was so popular and everyone's curious about what happens to those characters and whatever. I get it. I get how the movie machine did this.
And I really do like how it picks up on like the morning after, right? I think that's cool as shit.
Right. But here's why I think Day One did better, because people love Day One. It's because this is a very interesting thing to look at from the lens of a bunch of different people and a bunch of different places. Because at a certain point, like one of the things we kind of learn is that like it can't differentiate really well through sound. So like if it's raining, it can't hear you, like things like that.
Well, that's why the sprinkler works, which is
exactly.
That's also from the first movie, right? Like she did the same thing in the first movie, more or less.
Right. She done flooded every hideout they've had.
Yeah, she's really good at flooding her basement, Paige.
Real good at flooding basements. But I would love to see, I'm like, okay, what did this look like in Hawaii?
I actually wondered that.
What did this look like in a huge metropolis?
Yeah, because specifically Hawaii, like, okay, the Big Island.
I thought about Hawaii so much. I'm like, did they go there?
Fuck, does Hawaii even know?
Do they even know? Yeah.
Dude, Hawaii is like having the time of their life. You know what I'm saying?
Or like Japan. I'm like, did they go to Tokyo, or is that, Godzilla's domain? And he's like, it's Big G Man at Tokyo in the morning. I'm here to let you know that this is my arena.
I do think that, like, sorry, I just got a flash of this scene in my head, and it's Godzilla saying those things, and we're seeing him say those things, and then it like zooms in on his face and then zooms out, and we hear what he's actually saying, and it's just him screaming like Godzilla.
Radiation into the microphone.
Yeah. It's but like,
see, I was having a funny visual of him like hunched over in a booth, like, hey, it's the G-Man.
It's the G-Man in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be very, very funny. God damn it. Now I just want a monster radio. Fuck. Okay.
Right?
God, I got to write this sketch so it's out of my brain. Like it's all I'm thinking about.
You got to write it as an animated series, I think.
Oh, fuck yes, Paige. Somebody call Cartoon Network, because they don't exist anymore.
I was gonna say, I was like, I don't know who you sell it to, but like, you could write it.
Paige, first off, thank you for thinking that if I wrote it, I could sell it. That's a skill set I don't super have, but yeah, I appreciate it.
But yeah, that's how I think you avoid redoing the same points.
Yeah, you got to go somewhere else and with different characters, which is why I think Day One, and I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but the art and the poster for it, it's all new characters. Like Lupita Nyong'o's the main character, so I'm assuming it's like at least different people, maybe not a super different place in the world, but I'm assuming it's probably still America, but it could be anywhere. I don't know.
Right.
Which
that's another. Yeah. What about not America?
Yeah, but like I would imagine a lot of the continents are the same because they landed and they travel, right?
Okay, but think about this. Think about this in like the frozen wilds of Russia, which I know that they kind of did something like this on Stranger Things where they had a Demogorgon out there.
Damn, that is very similar to this.
But like this crash lands in like a frozen Russian prison colony. And what happens?
Oh, you mean they just don't notice?
They just pour vodka on it and go on about their day.
I do think that like the weakness of them not being able to swim
makes
it so like, okay, cool. Let's just like kill all of them them on the one side of the Mississippi and then blow every bridge in between the Mississippi River or whatever. And then like either the East Coast or the West Coast is fine, you know?
Right.
And then we sort of like, you know, murder the rest of them. I really do want to see like a Quiet Place 3, which will be the 4th movie in the franchise, but like one that continues this timeline.
Right.
I don't care if it continues this story necessarily of these same people, because like I know what's going to happen. Like Emily Blunt's going to move to the island and dick down Cillian Murphy and just repopulate the earth, which is a future I'm happy for them. Like that sounds great.
Yeah, sure.
For honestly both of them. But I want it to pick up like day 477 and someone hears the radio signal and it saves their life, sort of whether they knew it was going to or not. And then they like call the military or like do something. Like I don't know what's available at this point.
Crazy crossover pitch.
Hell yeah.
That girl climbs out of that bunker from 10 Cloverfield Lane. She hears the signal.
Yes, Paige. And then she becomes like we got to get this knowledge that this radio signal can not kill them, but help you kill them.
Right.
To people who have more guns than me. Like I don't, it doesn't need to be the military or even a militia. I just mean like she goes and finds survivors and those survivors start killing and taking back the earth more or less.
Right. But before that, shopping.
That's some real Night of the Comet vibes. I mean, I do think you would have to. You would have to scrounge for resources like Emily Blunt does in this movie and did in the last movie. Like they go into town and like they, you know, pick up stuff. I did like the Last of Us all of this one where it's like.
This did feel very Last of Us, especially as we're coming up on the new season.
Oh, God, I can't wait. But like the Cillian Murphy, first when he finds Reagan is like, no, we're going back. Like we're not.
Right.
You're insane. We're not doing that. And then when she sort of explains it to him, he's like, okay, it's not that far. And you're right. If it can save other people, we should do it. So like, we don't see him have that moment because it doesn't show us that. And when she wakes up and he has stolen her shit, I was like, that is cold-blooded, Cillian. That's crazy mean.
I was like, there's no way they went that hard and he just ran off into the woods and now she's got to kill him with her bare hands to get it back. Oh my God. But I'd watch that movie too.
Dude, same. It's like Prey, but she's got to track down her hearing aid. Oh. But anyway, he doesn't do that, obviously. He like is like out and about and comes back and gets her and is like, no, we're going to go to this radio station or whatever. I like that. Denial of the call and then respond, like answer of the call from his character. Even though he's not our main character on a hero's journey necessarily, he does have his own hero's journey in the background of this movie, which I like.
Well, and here's the thing. For as much as this does, for Emily Blunt's character, not give us anything new, really. For the A plot between the two of them, they both have their own hero's journey where it's her trusting herself to be like, I'm more like dad than I would ever admit, and I'm going to embrace it.
Yeah.
And then him being like, I'm not like that guy. I don't want to save people. I feel like I failed my wife. Maybe this is one way I can get that back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So the A plot, great.
Yeah.
B plot, you've seen the first one.
Yeah, and I really do think, and don't get me wrong, like Emily Blunt's a badass character. Like, she is such a badass character. By the end of the first movie, you realize it, and that's a great sort of reveal.
And you're not really surprised by it in this movie.
No, that's what I was getting. Yeah, because like, you know she's a badass.
Yeah.
You know she can handle this, although it's very clear that like the aliens are very dangerous and could very easily get the best of her. But she is smart. She has her wits about her. She knows how to handle herself in these situations. So like, we don't learn anything new about her character, I guess is my point. She's just one note the entire movie because she ended the last movie on a really awesome high note.
Right.
And stays there.
Yeah.
Although she does turn her baby into Moses, more or less. And I thought that was awesome. Like, put a baby in a basket and then make sure he's got oxygen, or they. I'm not even sure if it's a boy or a girl, but either way.
I don't remember. It's been so long since I saw the first movie.
Same. But, and then, you know, make sure he's got a little scuba mask on, and then we're good. It's fine. We're just run around with this basket, knowing fully well the baby inside is bouncing around like an insane child. Not because he's like high energy, but like because the thing he's in is shaking a lot. So like the baby would be like tossed around in there. But like the reason it's in there is because it's soundproof, I guess.
Well, it's got all those layers of like newspaper and cloth and stuff in there, which is the soundproofing.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm sure the baby is fine in there.
You're saying don't shake the baby.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Don't shake the baby like a frustrated British nanny. Like that's half the movie when they're walking places or running places, the baby's being shaken up quite a bit.
Yes, quite a bit.
There's no way when they open that basket or bassinet or whatever we're going to call that isn't full of just like throw up from the baby.
Yeah. Oh God, poor thing. Yeah.
I know. Anyway, we should get through this movie scene by scene.
We do. We start on day one. And admittedly, the town looks kind of empty to begin with as John Krasinski's character goes into the bodega and buys oranges and a few other things. But as he's in the bodega, we see that there's already things on the news.
Yes.
About what's happening.
Yeah, like this is happening elsewhere, but it's super early stages and nobody really knows what's happening yet. At least not general populace knows, right?
Right.
I bet the military is forming a response that's going to fail. Obviously, we know it fails, but like I think this is what general population knows. And it's like, I don't know if you remember exactly where you were when 9/11 happened. I do.
Yes. And people thought that was a bomb too. I remember.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was the second, it would have been like the second or third time that tower had been bombed, you know?
Yeah.
So like it is terrible that it would have, to think it was a bomb, but like that is not out of the realm of possibility. And then when you realize that, oh God, it was a plane and then another one hit.
Right.
Like, and you realize it's not like domestic terrorism, which I guess a bomb would have been.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's like an attack. Like that's a whole different level of scary. And I feel like this movie does a really good job of like building that up. And we know what it is because this is the second movie, but it does a really good job of building it up for the characters because I understand why Johnny K wasn't like, oh, that sucks. A lot of bad things happen in the world.
Right.
And I am already late to my son's baseball game. So I got to get the oranges and whatever because I'm the team mom this week or whatever.
Right.
So I understood why he was just like, man, that sucks. Sorry to hear this. I'm going to go, Yeah. And he just leaves. He like leaves the store owner and who we see later. But like, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
But this town is very much like it's like a pass-through town now.
Yeah.
It seems like before the interstate system was built, it was probably like a thriving little small town, but because you can just drive on the interstate way past it, it's not really surviving. I got the vibe that like the foundry that they're in at the end, it was like a company town for that foundry.
Right.
Right. And everyone sort of worked there or worked at the military base that Killian's brother works at, which we never meet him. And man, wouldn't it be great if like that's where day one is?
Yeah.
It's just at that military base and we find Cillian Murphy's brother is there and we like follow his character. That would be cool.
Right.
I love that. I'm like speculating wildly about a movie that fully ass exists and I could have just watched. I'm sorry, listeners.
It's okay, but I mean that when you're thinking about like other movies that could take place in the world, if we were following Cillian Murphy's brother, did the army know about it ahead of time? Or they were like, we got things entering the atmosphere, like whatever.
I'm sure they knew when things were entering the atmosphere, but like it does come in and we see it at the baseball game. It comes in like a big comet or asteroid,
like a comet,
maybe.
Yeah.
So like I'm sure NASA was like, yeah, we've got some objects that'll be falling from the sky. It'll probably, because the size of them, and they probably were like, well, it's not big enough to actually make landfall. It'll be a pretty light show. It might have been something like that.
Yeah.
Not knowing that these are fully ass aliens and they know how to get through that, like the atmosphere to like attack,
Well, and, so he gets to the game. He's late to the game. She seems to be kind of further down, closer to they're not sitting together, which I thought was kind of interesting.
They're not, but she is playing with their youngest son who dies very sadly in the first movie.
Oh, so sad.
We don't ever see him, I don't think, though. Or maybe we do.
We see the back of his head a little bit, but that's it.
We do see him for a second. Yeah. But she's just pushing him on a swing, really. They're just playing, and her other son's playing a baseball game and her husband's, or perhaps separated husband, that's pure speculation on my point, is sitting in the bleachers with Reagan. And he's like cutting up one of the oranges. And Reagan's like, your hands are disgusting.
Right.
And then Cillian Murphy's like, hey, how are you guys doing? And I'm like, oh, hey, there's a super famous person also in this child little league baseball game. So like he's going to be in this movie for sure.
Right. He's clearly going to be important later.
Yeah. We're definitely going to see this guy in a bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This guy definitely survives day one. And it does set up the Chekhov's dive, which I really liked.
Yes.
Because Killian is trying to figure out how to like talk to Reagan. And it does seem like they're family friends.
Yeah.
Like they know each other. And it might just be like their sons are on the same baseball team, so they have to hang out twice a week at practice and at games.
Yes.
And they've just gotten friendly. It doesn't seem like they like are really close, but they're friends.
They're friends, yeah.
And so Killian is just like making the effort to like be able to communicate with Reagan in a way that it's easier for her to receive it, because she can read lips if you enunciate well.
Right.
But he's like a kind, nice guy, So he's like, how do you say dive or whatever? Because they're trying to. His son gets out because he doesn't dive and slide into a base.
Right.
So he was like, how do you say dive? And so Reagan teaches him that. And then he's like, I'm sure this will never come up later. And
I'm sure this is not the gun within this film.
And then you see the, I guess, asteroid or the invasion star. They think it's an asteroid, I think.
Yeah.
And John Krasinski stands up and is like, what the fuck? And everyone starts to just like go to the car. I do love that like the umps don't call the game. The audience calls the game.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very funny. The audience is like, all right, we're going. We're getting out of here. This is scary as fuck. Everyone get to the car. We're not doing this. We're getting the fuck out.
Can I tell you, nothing is scarier than when everyone is like, we got to go. Like, that's the scariest. Like, that happened to me once during the fires where I was up on Sunset, and like, there's almost never a fire that close into Hollywood. There happened to be this time. And collectively, it was like everyone just kind of like, get in your car and go. And then they were like clearing cars off the street. And it was fucking terrifying because everyone was of the same mind of like, I have to save myself.
Yes. And my loved ones.
And I might not care about you in the process.
Yeah. So I was once, I was standing, this is years ago. I was standing out in front of Municipal Auditorium waiting for a show, and it was packed. There were like, I don't know, the venue probably seats about 20,000 people. And we were all just like outside waiting to get in. Now, not all 20,000 people. It was probably 1,000 at most. Right. We're there early to wait because you were like, I want to get in the pit.
Right.
And I want to be as close to the front as possible. So we're waiting out front. So it's like your diehard fans that are there already. And it turned out not to be a gunshot, but we heard what sounded like 4 or 5 gunshots, and people turned and started running.
Of course.
And just like ran. And people were getting pushed and like knocked over and run over. And it was wild when the police did show up, and they were like, we think it was just a car backfiring, and the stampede that started the people getting injured, which fortunately not many people were injured. And it was like, I sprained my ankle a little bit. It wasn't bad. It honestly wasn't bad at all. It was just so scary because of the stampede. It wasn't even, it fully could have been cars backfiring. I don't know, because I didn't hear it. I just saw the crush of people running towards me that used to be standing in front of me in a line.
Right.
And that was scary. And you know what was funny? It was 20 minutes after all that happened, we were all back in fucking line. Like, hey, that was weird, right? Like, it was crazy.
I have a friend who happens to have been present for 2 different comedy club shootings.
Oh, so God, why is he so bad? Like, what jokes was he telling? Sorry, I know it wasn't his fault.
He's a killer. No.
God.
If you're a Mean Boys fan who also listens, Keith Carey was...
Oh, you've mentioned Keith.
Yeah. So Keith was at the old Madhouse Comedy Club in San Diego, and somebody had a gun at Horton Plaza, and Keith has described to me a couple times the terrifying sensation of everyone is scared and everyone's running, and you start running, and then people start running in the opposite direction of you.
Oh God.
And that's the scariest part.
That would be so scary.
Yes.
Yeah, because you think you're running in the right direction and you're not.
Yep.
You realize you're running towards it. Yeah, that's so, which is like, not to tie it back to the movie, but when you're watching Emily Blunt and her son who are in their car drive away, and they make it around the one that like hit their car initially, not hit, but like smacked it.
Yes.
And they get around him, and then they get that bus who's like coming right towards them. They thought they were going the right direction, and then she has to fucking reverse and like J-turn out of that shit. Although
it felt like a ride in Disneyland.
But like on like a studio tour, you know what I'm saying? It felt like that kind of, like if they did the Jaws ride now, you know what I'm saying? And they didn't build the Jaws ride in the 70s, and it wasn't like a little hokey, but still awesome because it's so like cheesy.
Yes.
Like if it was actually scary, man. Yeah.
Well, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of, and I don't expect you to remember, any of this, but on the Mummy ride.
I don't think I did the Mummy ride, did I?
That's the one that went backwards.
I did. I hate you. I remember that now. Yes, I do remember that. You are the worst.
Yes. No, I, again, did not realize it would be that bad. If I had, I would have never. I'm so sorry.
When you say I didn't realize it would be that bad, what she really means is I didn't realize you're that much of a wuss when it comes to roller coasters, and I am.
No, I did not realize it would upset you and frighten you that much that it could potentially ruin the rest of your night. If I had known that, I never would have pushed it. I would have been like, I'll see you outside, man.
I felt like I was going to throw up for an hour and a half.
I'm so sorry. But I can just picture if you were to make this a ride,
yes,
that bus coming at you and then being like, almost like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, just like back up, back up, back up.
Well, the Indiana Jones ride is a good version of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good version of that. And that's a ride I like because you don't do anything fucking crazy in that one.
I love Indiana Jones.
But yeah, I agree.
I know we're a little past it. I just want to brief call out the Shaun of the Dead of John Krasinski's day one of walking past all the businesses and like retracing his steps. I did love that. Yeah,
and seeing the space shuttle that gets his son killed, or at least the same model. You know, it may not be the same one, but it's that same one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. I was like, oh no, the toys.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so all hell breaks loose. Everyone runs for their cars. Terrifying. She gets in an accident. His truck kind of gets knocked out of the way. And he and the daughter, like, they stop. She sees that it's mom. She runs for the car.
Yeah.
He grabs her almost as like, hey, man, I can't lose all of you.
Yeah.
I think is what he's thinking.
I think his priority is to save his daughter that's like right close to him because that's what he immediately has control of.
Right.
But I also think he intended to go try and help.
Sure. I think he was going to make sure she was safe and then go. But like,
I thought that too. But I think that because of what's going on, they were forced into that same bodega that they were in, or maybe not the same bodega, but the bodega guy is there. They're like running into another business.
He's there. They're in like a bar or so it's like a restaurant or a bar or something like that.
And this is where you get like people on the phone calling, which you would totally do. Like you
100%.
You don't know at this point that they're drawn to sound, right? So you would just totally call your loved ones and be like, hey, are you okay? Like make sure you stay safe or whatever. Like here's what's going on. I love you so much. Like those kind of conversations.
Again, something very terrifying of like, hey, I'm in this thing, but we're safe. I'm going to be okay. And then the other person's line cuts out.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, none of us are safe.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Nobody's safe.
Yeah.
Right? Like terrifying.
I did love that John Krasinski, or like Reg, who is the bodega owner, or at least the guy who was working there, is like saying the Lord's Prayer. And not because he's a bad dude or anything, but like John Krasinski is like, hey, we're hiding and you're talking loudly. So he like reaches over and does something that would actually be helpful in that situation because of the type of aliens we're dealing with and covers his mouth. I was like, hell yeah, that's smart. Good job. But then someone's Nokia 2650 goes off and becomes the only thing in that room to survive. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And it like the first one that hits a car, because everyone's like briskly walking to their cars and then one barrels out of nowhere and takes a car out. Fucking terrifying. And normally I always advocate for like, I don't want to see, show me as little of the monster as you can because CGI and whatever. Like it still works. Sometimes it doesn't look great, but like that one that comes out and gets that car, I was like, ooh, like
it's super scary. It's very scary.
It's super scary.
Even knowing that that's a possibility, because I've seen the first one, I was scared by that.
Right.
Yeah.
And this one, it basically like it turns, it hears, and it barrels into that room, and it is bull in a china shop. And like John Krasinski and his daughter escape as it literally chases them out the back, and we have to assume that everyone else in that room is dead.
I mean, we saw it kill or at least hit very violently almost everyone else, you know?
Yes.
Starting with the lady with the phone, because that's what drew it there.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I have a question for you about the world. Where are all the bodies?
We see bodies that have died long times ago on the train and stuff, but we don't see,
We see one on the train and we see one in the foundry.
Yes. Well, we see a bunch in the foundry because some people hung themselves there. It's kind of sad. And then we see his wife that died there. I'm assuming it's his wife.
Right.
Who he brought there because she was sick and like he was trying to care for her and she was struggling to stay quiet with the pain. So like, it's really sweet, but it's sad, you know, like.
Yeah. Anyway. They escape. They get out the back. They get behind, or at this point, Emily Blunt and the two sons are behind the police car. And that police officer is basically like the last bastion of hope as he's trying to shoot it. It won't die. It immediately kills that guy. John Krasinski gets to them. They're now all back together. She tries and cocks the gun, and he just says, let's go. And that's where we end our cold open. It's 10 minutes long. That's a perfect movie cold open.
Yeah. It just cuts to the title card. I was like, oh, fuck,
right.
This is so good. This is such a good cold open.
Yes.
It really made me, even though I'm sure it'll terrify me, I really do want to see what happens in the first one.
I really do want to see day one.
It answers a lot of questions that I had from the first movie, but in a way that is like, oh, fuck, I gotta know more about what happened day one.
Right. Well, and I feel like in this movie, this 10 minutes is some of the scariest parts of this movie. There's other scary parts for sure. It's very tense at other points. But this first 10 minutes is so consummately terrifying. A whole movie of that first 10 minutes. Oh my God.
I know, I can't.
I mean, it's Cloverfield, or it's, Independence Day, or it's War of the Worlds.
I hope it's more Independence Day than Cloverfield, because I want to see people trying to actually fight it on a military scale.
Yes.
And why that goes badly. Because I understand, like, okay, their armor can stop a shotgun bullet or a revolver bullet.
Right.
Can it stop a tank shell? And if it can, I want to see that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. But we cut to day 474. So a year and some change, a year and a half, basically.
Right.
And the baby's making noise as they walk through kind of an abandoned house with the gun in hand.
This is their house. This is literally the morning after her husband died.
Yep.
And she's like, well, I guess my husband's dead, so I got to go shack up with the hot other dude from the baseball team.
My husband is dead, and I have just had a baby in the last 24 hours.
That's a good point. I forgot it was that. You're right.
She literally goes into labor. Like, that's part of the end of the last movie.
She has a perfectly clear baby because she wasn't able to make any sounds while giving birth.
Perfectly clear.
Isn't that what Scientology's like?
They do advocate for silent births, yeah. And
that seems crazy to me, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. They don't really want babies to be born clear, because they want you to pay them $300,000 for that baby to buy all the books and the tech to then become clear eventually.
You can't call anything that they do tech.
I mean, they do. That's why
No, I know.
Yeah.
But it's not technology. It is words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the red lights are on. The barn is on fire. It is basically like they can't stay here.
No, their literal world burned down around them.
Right.
And her husband died. Their dad died,
Right.
In such a sad way. I love the sacrifice at the end of that movie is like heart-wrenching and so moving. And I love it.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to move on. You can't stay here.
You can't stay here or else you all die. She does go down into the basement to get more tanks.
An oxygen tank. At first I thought it was like nitrous or something. Like she was like giving her baby laughing gas or something so it wouldn't cry. And I was like, are you going to lock a baby in an airtight thing with just NOS? Like with just nitrous? But it's not. It's oxygen.
That baby's going to go so fast.
Ooh, guys, hit the NOS. But no, it's because the thing is airtight, which also makes sense.
Right.
So like it's so the baby can breathe.
Right.
It creates for the baby more or less what they get into in the foundry. Right. Because it's only got so much air that they can breathe, which I loved the ticking clock of all of that too.
Oh, that stressed me out. Every time it closed on that towel, I was like, oh, one of these times it's not gonna. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, why would you make it so you couldn't open it from the inside?
Because no one's supposed to be in it.
That doesn't mean people won't get in it. Like, it's big enough that you have to get in it to clean it.
That's true.
Never make it so you can't. I mean, and maybe it was just like
old,
damaged or something. Yeah, or old. Who knows? But
yeah. While she's getting the oxygen tanks, Reagan goes and gets an amp, like a guitar amp.
Right? Like, now's not the time, Reagan. Like, who are you going to play for? I kind of love this.
She's just walking around just like, they're like, not now.
You're really going to play Sweet Child of Mine when your brother died 2 days ago? Come on.
Now, here's what I'll ask you, because you would know better than me. She cuts the power cord off of that amp.
Yeah.
At no time is it ever plugged into anything else.
Right.
Is it just the mechanics of the cones and tubes within the amp reacting to the magnet in her hearing aid that allows her to project that feedback?
No.
Okay.
No. But Paige, I'll tell you this. I don't know if you know this, and not many people do. They try and keep this a secret.
Phantom power.
But Phantom power does exist.
Yeah.
But not many people know that everything that you plug into the wall, you can just cut the power cord.
You can just cut the cord.
And it'll still have electricity. No, that bothered me too. Especially because there are amps And we see one famously in School of Rock.
Right.
They take big batteries because it takes a lot of power, but like you can clip to your belt more or less.
Right.
And like play guitar like he does in School of Rock. Like he literally has one in that movie. So like those things exist. They just don't use it. It didn't bother me because like I understand what they're doing, but she would have had... She does cut the power cord, and we would have had to have seen her wire in a external battery solution, which she doesn't do. We never see.
Yeah.
And it's just, she's just carrying around
Right.
the amp that is now like, has no ability to be turned on.
Yeah, it's just a cabinet, basically, at that point.
Yeah.
Like a tiny gated in cabinet.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they now set off for the other fire. Because remember, John Krasinski in the last movie was lighting that beacon every night. She goes up and lights it again. She notices that all the other ones have gone out, but that one's still there. So they're going to head for it in the distance. So they walk, it seems like a day and some change to it. They pass the beacon. We see the smoke embers dying out. And as they're walking and getting close, we see that he has a gun trained on them, kind of watching them.
We see his vision through the scope. We actually never see him yet.
Right.
During this sequence, we never see him. It's just him looking through the scope at them, which I liked because it sets up like, oh, people might be bad this deep into the apocalypse too.
Right. And he does say that to them, but I
Yes.
also love that this sets up he can see through the scope that these are people that he knows, and he still doesn't go out to help them.
No.
That's where he's starting from his arc of essentially cowardice and depression.
And and he's lost everybody. His wife died 11 weeks ago or whatever. Like he's living in it, right?
Right.
He is very much like in his grief and in his feels. And that's why when he does come across them, he's hidden his face.
Yeah.
He will not show his face because his whole MO is like, you can't stay here.
Yeah.
You have to leave. I'm not going to kill you, but you have to leave. You cannot stay.
Right.
Which he flips on as soon as he sees the baby. But like, that's where he starts.
Only temporarily, because he does still want them out the next morning.
True.
Because,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But as he's watching them, the oldest son steps in a bear trap.
Well, it starts off because they're climbing through the fence.
Right.
And Emily Blunt, triggers a trap that like makes a lot of sound.
Right.
So now they're running because they know one of the things is coming. And that's when Marcus, who's being a little careless with his steps because he's running, like this is so believable to me.
Right.
And he steps like right in a bear trap. And of course yells. Like that would be so instinctual. I wouldn't want to, but I would.
That kid deserves acting awards for that scream.
It's so good.
Like, so good.
And she goes to cover his mouth and he's like screaming loudly into her hand. And again, I know he's an idiot for doing that. You should not do that. I don't know that I would be able to stop doing that.
Of course not. It would hurt so bad. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And he's also like, what, 13 or 14? Because he's younger than Reagan, right?
He's younger than Reagan. I picture him as like 10 or 11 even. Like,
Yeah, he's young. He's pretty young.
yeah. But Emily Blunt pulls the bear trap apart. They carry him inside.
Oh, we should say, like, this is where they show that you can now use the sound thing portably.
Right.
Because as Marcus is screaming, of course it brings one of the things over. And that's when Reagan starts her or she like puts her hearing aid in the amp or whatever, and it makes the sound. And so it opens the skull shield part of the, I don't know what to call it, part of the alien.
And Emily Blunt shoots it.
Man, and that is a double beat from the last like scene of the first movie, and I still loved it. I was like, I know they did the same thing in the first movie, but it's badass, and Emily Blunt's awesome. So
Yes.
I'm all right with it.
But so they go inside into the foundry, and Cillian Murphy grabs them, leads them down into kind of his hideout, which also includes like a crucible kind of a thing.
It's very cool.
That they then climb into.
They're like, well, they don't climb into it, Paige, because they're still running, right?
Right.
Don't they like run? And so they're at the foundry. We spend a lot of time here at the foundry. So they're running through the foundry floor, and there is a like, I don't know what to call it other than like a Mario pipe.
Yeah.
with like a submarine seal door on the top of it.
Yeah.
So there is one of those to go down into the place where I don't know what you call it, the actual foundry, the place where you would mix up all the metals and stuff in extreme heat, because that's what they're getting in. They're like hiding in there.
Like a furnace.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right term, but it is like a furnace.
I have no idea.
Me either.
But yeah.
But so there is a way to like safely get down there, like an OSHA protected way, which I thought was funny.
Right.
But it's clear that something that was hanging or like a part of the ceiling or whatever has fallen into the floor and gotten stuck in the floor, but it has created like a circular tube that's on its side. It's like at a 45-degree angle. And like Cillian Murphy's running towards it and he just like jumps into the tube and slides into his hideout.
Yep.
And I was like, did Cillian Murphy build a McDonald's play place into his hideout? Because this is dope. Because they all jump into it.
There's just a ball pit under it.
Yeah. Well, it's like a bunch of sacks of what I would assume are like rice or grain or something.
It's sand.
Oh, sand.
Yeah.
Of course, because they use sand to get around. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But so like he can quickly get in and out, but it's too small for the alien to get through quickly, although they can eventually, and we see one get through it later.
Right. But so they all get down into that little furnace area where it's soundproofed essentially.
Yeah.
And so Marcus can scream while they clean and set his leg.
Yeah. And then we find out that like it didn't hit the bone. So it's not
Right.
broken. It's not like he's going to be dead.
Right.
Because there's not a lot of medical attention, although she does know enough about drugs at this point to be able to nurse any sort of like infection, I think.
Right.
But it's not like a broken leg, which I do think would be way worse in a post-apocalypse than just like, not that a bear trap closing on your leg isn't bad.
Right.
He's fucked up, obviously, but it's not as bad as it could have been.
Right. Exactly. But this is where Cillian Murphy takes the thing down off his face and we reveal that it's Emmett. And she's like, you got to let us stay. We've got a baby with us. Like, please.
I love that reveal because you know it's Cillian Murphy because you recognize his voice. But for him, hiding his face was protecting him. I think she knew who it was.
Right.
It was protecting him from being like, they don't know who I am. I can just be a random guy who was nice, who didn't kill them when he could have, and just told them to leave and let them pass through.
Right.
Whatever. They don't know it's me. It's fine.
Right.
And then when she is like, Emmett, I know it's you, and we have a baby
Right.
together. Not her, but like we have a baby now.
Right. Right.
That's when he pulls it down because like he's like, fuck, I have to do more than just kick them out.
Right. Right. Right.
And that emotional turn for him of like, okay, I'm going to start to let people in again because he is in this grief cycle and like closing everything out. And like, I fully think he is either going to hang himself
Yeah.
or just survive until he dies. Like that's his plan. His plan is not,
Right.
I have to survive and rebuild society. His plan is like, well, my life is over and it'll happen when it happens kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And him hiding his face, that's I think a good indicator of where he is. And then him connecting with Emily Blunt and then her kids by removing that barrier, I thought was a great metaphor for what's about to happen. I loved it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Find yourself looking for a new job or change in career? Monster.com is here to help. We are not only here to bring you job postings, but also AI interview prep and salary tools, expert career advice, and top-notch resume services. We've got everything you need to land your perfect job fit. Discover the magic of finding the ideal job with Monster.com. Your future starts now. Visit Monster.com today. Your next job opportunity is just a click away.
So they then, now that the kind of monster is gone and they can kind of relax into this new living situation, they kind of talk through like, you know, both of his boys died that first day.
Yeah.
And then his wife made it easily another year with him and then died because she got sick. And when she started yelling, he had to put her in the furnace and it was a whole thing.
Yeah. Not to like kill her, like put her in the furnace
For the screams.
Yeah. We actually do see that she had like a whole like treatment place where he was like trying to help her. It's really sad.
Right. It's really sad. I thought for a hot second when, you know, I'll talk about it when we get to that point, but I thought something way more sinister was happening.
Yeah. I thought the same thing.
But he does say to Emily Blunt, he's like, the people that are left, what they've become, you don't know. And we know that Emily Blunt hasn't encountered a ton of people from the first movie. It seems like they're kind of alone.
Yeah.
So in this one, he's like, hey, there are people, but you don't want to meet them. He says literally they're not the kind worth saving.
Yeah.
So he's given up on not just himself, but humanity at large. But as this is happening, Reagan has put the headphones and the radio on Marcus and is trying to kind of tune to static to just kind of like calm him down and finds Beyond the Sea. Because again, they didn't just like, hey, come to magical safe island.
Thanks for listening to WTF Radio, where we could just tell you where you could be safe, but fuck that. Instead, we're going to play a clue by Bobby Darin. beyond the sea. I thought it was funny that the person who can't hear is like trying to dial in a radio station. Although what you just said made it make sense to me because it's not about a radio station. It's just like white noise, which static would be.
Right.
So like now I understand it. But in the moment, I didn't put that together. And I was like, she's not going to be able to find a radio station. Like it's the end of the world. And you couldn't hear it anyway because I don't think she's wearing her cochlear implant at that point.
Right. No, it's just for static to try and find that white noise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But they asked Cillian Murphy about it and he's like, yeah, it's been playing for the last 4 months. And she's like, no, my dad would have heard it. And he's like, he wouldn't have. You can't hear anything down in the valley. We didn't hear it in our house. We didn't hear it until we got up here to where the foundry is.
Yeah.
And Reagan kind of flips out and is like, you knew about this and you didn't do anything about it. You're nothing like dad.
It's real, you're not my real dad energy. And he's only been her stepdad for a day, guys.
Yeah, they just got there.
I know. Like he was just like, no, I'm not like your dad. Your dad was awesome. And I am living here until I'm dying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And she's like, he would have heard it. No, you couldn't have heard it. You're not my real dad. And he's like, okay, well then I want you guys gone tomorrow. Like,
yeah,
you know,
she doesn't say you're not my real dad, but that's like the vibe of the scene, if that makes sense. But he's very much like, well, cool, but you guys got to leave tomorrow because I've got plans.
Right. But meanwhile, Reagan wakes up Marcus that night and is like, hey, it's not a song. It's a signal. It's coming from a radio station that's off the coast. Which,
okay, pause. Because what? Like, how did she figure that out? Like, she just, like, we go to sleep with Marcus and then
we find out where she was tuning it to. And then she has that folder that she, I guess, brought with her that her dad was tuning to.
I guess she did take that. We don't see it, though.
I guess it was in a backpack. We didn't see it.
Yeah. I was like, what is happening? I mean, cool. I actually kind of like this. Because to me, it does feel very Last of Us, like not a little girl, but like a teenage girl has the key to saving humanity. And now we've got to get her across some scary shit to get her to where she can be effective.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is like similar to The Last of Us. It's different enough that it doesn't bother me, but it's similar.
Right. Yeah. And it's that folder is along with where she was seeing the beacons. So she's got like the beacon map and everything and the folder. Because I assume John Krasinski was also trying to find like radio signals in the same way and probably taught her how to do it. Maybe that happened in the first movie and I just don't remember.
Once we had like, basics taken care of, like we can live, we can survive as long as we follow these rules and we have enough, supplies. My next step would be like, I need to find other people. I need to build like a community of people or find one that we can join or like, because you're going to be safer in a community than you are on your own.
Right.
And so that would be my next step. Once we took care of basic needs, that's the next step. So I fully do think Reagan's right.
Yeah.
Her dad would have gotten to this point. And if he had heard the radio signal, which I think there's a very plausible reason for why he didn't.
Right.
But if he had, I do think he would have gone.
Yeah. But she basically is like, I'm going to go to this radio station so I can take my hearing aid there and amplify.
Yes.
And try and kill as many of these things as possible.
Yeah.
And her brother's like, no, don't, you'll die. And she's like, I'm going to die anyway, man. Like, dad would at least try to save people,
That boy, well, that honestly, Reagan's doing a great job too. But like when he is like rubbing his chest and like saying please, because that's the sign for it.
Yes.
You can't help but like get a little teary eyed. He's like, I don't want this to be the last conversation we have. Like that's the vibe. He's not saying those words, but it's very much like, I need you in my life. Please don't go.
Well, and he's like, I'll tell them where you're going.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell mom immediately.
I don't care if you're mad at me as long as you're alive.
Yeah, exactly. I've had a similar conversation with a loved one. Like, I don't care if you're mad at me for this. I need you here. And I'm to this day glad I did that. It was very sad and traumatic, and I'm not going to get into it, but like very glad I did that.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that person is still in my life. Like I don't feel bad about it at all. And that person's never given me shit about it, never like made me apologize or anything. Like it's just like an unspoken understanding kind of. But yeah, I understood why he was like, I can't stop you from going because I don't know if you remember yesterday, a fucking bear trap crushed my leg.
Right.
I will tell everyone the second I can.
Yeah. And this is also where we introduce the alarm beeping at the door because you only have so much oxygen in that little thing, that tube.
I think we actually see Cillian doing it the first time when they first go in, but we don't really understand it because it's not explained.
Right.
This is where it's all explained. Yeah.
We cut to the next morning. The son wakes up. and she has left the radio with a note that says, keep listening, but she's gone.
Yes.
Cillian Murphy comes downstairs.
Make sure you keep your dials tuned to WTF radio, where we play the hit.
The hit.
Because it's just one song.
It's just the one song. Suddenly they get a bunch of covers, but it's all still Beyond the Sea.
Oh my God. If they just had like 50 different artists doing Beyond the Sea. Fuck. So funny.
Anyway, she heads out. And so Emily Blunt is like, Cillian Murphy, you have to go find her for me. And he's like, no, like, why? Let her go. And she's like, please go find her. She is worth saving. And we cut to her at a train station.
Yeah.
And we do see a suitcase and a ton of just empty shoes. Like people just got snatched out of their shoes.
Which is crazy. There's like an empty boot. Someone got snatched out of their boot, Paige.
Yeah.
Imagine how much leverage that would have taken.
Oh, yeah.
You ever taken a lady's boots off after clubbing all night? Those things are like suction cupped on.
Yeah, I know.
You're like, just pull the pants down because you're going to have to figure this shit out later.
100%. And like, I love wearing cowboy boots, but fully they are locked onto your feet until they decide to release. It's rough.
Yeah.
Anyway, she finds a train stopped on the tracks. She climbs through. She sees a first aid kit. She goes for it and a body falls on her hand, but it makes noise. And we see that there is a monster in the background. She can't hear it, but she notices it. She turns on the feedback, shoots and misses, reloads and goes to shoot again, but the gun jams. But another shot rings out and kills that one monster. And it's because Cillian Murphy caught up to her very fast because his legs are longer.
Yes. And I'm assuming he also sort of knows where she's headed because he said her brother told him she's going this way, this direction. So he's just like beelining it that way as fast as he can, trying to catch up with her.
Right.
But I have a problem with this kill too. I like it. It's great. It's tension building, but he shoots the creature from behind it, which wouldn't give it a clear shot at the exposed head because the panel's open backwards.
Right.
So it would have hit just one of the panels that is bulletproof.
Right.
So I think easy fix for that if
it turns, if he makes a noise and it turns.
That would work. Or if he just is coming in because she's like
coming in behind
she's like
her.
leaning up against if she's like leaning up against the doors that connect the train where there's a window in, right?
Right.
So if he's just coming in through the other car and shoots through that car, that window that she's laying down below,
right,
and hits it in the face, that would fix it for me.
Yeah.
But I also, they want to reveal that he is there in that moment and not before that moment.
Right.
So like, this is one of those things that like, oh, it couldn't necessarily happen that way, but like narratively, I kind of like it, you know?
Yeah. So they escape to the train station. He's like, hey, as soon as the monsters are gone, we'll go. I'm taking you back. And she's like, no, because I got to do something. You were mad that you couldn't do enough. Now you can. So nut up. We're going to go do something.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, aka the bunker, the tank for the baby is almost empty, and the oxygen tank. And so Emily Blunt knows that she's got to go get more oxygen, but also she knows if she doesn't get antibiotics, that kid's going to die of infection because of the bear trap. 100%.
Well, and that's why she's got to go to the pharmacy.
And probably tetanus.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when she leaves and he is like, please don't go, just like he did with his sister.
Yeah.
It's also a heartbreaking scene too. He's very much like, don't go, I'm scared, more or less. And she's like, you're going to be in a lot of pain very soon if I don't go.
Yeah.
Because you need medicine. And your sibling, who's in the Moses baby carriage, needs oxygen. So like, I have to go. I don't have a choice.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Reagan wakes up in the train station the next morning and is missing her hearing aid and runs out. And the despair, like her performance in the first one was phenomenal. It's great in this one too.
Yes.
But her despair at no longer having the hearing aid, palpable, like so good.
Yeah.
But turns out he was just out and about, brings it back, and he's like, hey, I found a boat, which is wild considering how far they end up walking to that boat.
He says it was a day and a half until they get to the island. And I think the majority of that was walking, right?
Was walking to get to the boat, yeah.
He should have been like, I know how to get to the marina.
Yes, yeah. But they set out on their way. Emily Blunt leaves. She goes out. Here's the other thing I noticed. So as Cillian Murphy and Reagan are walking, Reagan is barefoot.
Yes.
And has been this whole time. Everyone in this movie is going to get trench foot. Everybody.
I mean, I also thought it was funny that like Cillian Murphy's fully ass got shoes and this child next to him doesn't. And
bloody feet.
Yeah. And he's just like, sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck, asshole. Yeah. Just
Also, there are plenty of empty shoes on that train. We've seen them.
right. Why didn't she take any?
She's like walking with one boot and one heel.
They're all high heels.
Well, one was a boot, one was a heel. And so she's like, it would have been very funny if we saw
Yeah.
her walking in those later.
Lucky that these were a size 6. We see them walk across bridges that have a bunch of abandoned cars.
Yeah.
We see Emily Blunt get to the place where her son died in the last movie and leave her wedding ring there. And that's heartbreaking.
Which I thought was insane. I would never leave my wedding ring. Are you insane?
I would never leave the wedding ring. It's the one thing you've got.
Yeah. I was honestly like, oh shit, maybe she is like already moving on to Cillian Murphy. Because what? You would leave the one thing that ties you to the husband that sacrificed his life for you and your children 2 days ago. You're like, I don't need this anymore. It's holding me back. It's holding me down.
I think it was like a closure thing, but like,
I don't think you're ready for closure 2 days after that sacrifice, Paige.
no. And I also would not have left my ring, but it's very sad, super sad. So she makes it to the pharmacy and I'm like, and she's like picking out, I'm like, girl, sweep the shelf, like take as much as you can.
Right?
What are you doing?
She's like, I got to leave some for the other survivors if they're here. Like, I don't understand why she isn't just taking literally everything she can carry. Like, I would understand why you wouldn't maybe get everything, but simply because you can't carry everything.
Right. You know, you can only carry so much jerky. And so like,
Jerky would be a fucking hot commodity in this world.
I was just thinking about the Oregon Trail of it all, but yes.
Oh yeah, because you would definitely like need like protein and shit, and that would be a great source of it.
Yes. Meanwhile, Marcus is like, okay, baby, you stay here. I'm going to check and see where mom is because it's starting to get dark and she hasn't come back yet.
Yeah, he just like climbs up the OSHA tube, the Mario plumber tunnel thing, and opens the hatch and like is like shining the flashlight around and then gets out and starts to walk. And this is where you see, it looks like foundry workers who have hung themselves.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly sad.
Here's what I couldn't figure out immediately because they don't seem, and I guess it's because it's a year later and the bodies would have decayed and it's just skeletons. Because for a hot second, I was like, did Cillian Murphy hang these uniforms as a diversion for monsters? But no, I think you're right. I think workers hung themselves.
Yeah, they can't make sound because they're dead. So like, it wouldn't do any good.
Yeah.
I think it's really just like on day 15, the workers realized there was nothing they could do and they were all going to die eventually anyway. So they just suicide pact killed themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's what happened, but that's what it seems like at least.
Right.
And then as Marcus continues walking through that room, he walks to the room that looks like where Cillian was giving his wife treatment for whatever it was.
Right.
And her body is still there, unfortunately.
Right. And I fully expected her to still be alive somehow and that he was lying about it. And I don't know. Yeah. But like, no, it's just her body.
Yeah. But the reveal of that startles Marcus and he stumbles and knocks over some metal shit, which if you listened to DJ Smith, he said earlier, don't run into anything metal. Like that's like day one shit. You got to learn that immediately. But he does, it knocks over some shit. And of course, one of the monsters comes. So he has to hobble back to the hideout hole, whatever we call that, like where the foundry actually is.
Yeah. The warp zone.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Reagan and Cillian Murphy have found the marina and the dock and the boats, and they go to untie one and something runs behind them. And it turns out to be a little girl. And I'm like, oh, this is a trap.
Always.
This is a trap.
It's always. I've seen The Last of Us. It's always a trap.
I've seen Aliens. It's a trap.
Yeah.
She killed all the colonists.
I've seen Star Wars. It's a trap. It's a trap. Aw, Admiral Akbar.
But they go to try and help the little girl. It's a trap. Now they're surrounded.
Oh, can I just say the little girl puts on what I think is a hilarious, like, you know, like if you want to know where your cat is at all times, you like put a bell around their neck or whatever. It is like a collar attached to a chain with like 30 cowbells attached to that.
Yes.
I was like,
yes.
Oh, that's super smart. And he's like on a dock. So it's like maybe 5 feet on either side, no railing, and then just water.
Right.
You know, it's like
right.
that kind of dock.
Yes.
And I set that up just because we're about to get Chekhov's dive.
Yeah, we're about to get Chekhov's dive. But meanwhile, back at the foundry, Marcus has now run back down and grabbed the baby, climbed into that little like furnace thing, and lets it close, and it closes them inside.
Yeah, he forgets to put the towel up over the latch,
Right.
so it doesn't close and lock him in. So he's locked in there with the baby. He doesn't realize it yet, but he is.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the monster is out there, but now Emily Blunt, it's between Emily Blunt and Marcus.
Yeah.
She can't get back. And so she is like trying to shoot at it and trying to draw it away while also triggering the sprinklers, because she does shoot a puddle of gasoline that lights it on fire.
It's one of the oxygen tanks.
Right.
She shoots it, and that does sort of light it on fire, and it looks very briefly like it kills it.
Yes.
Because it covers it, like dwarfs it in flames, right?
Right.
And then it starts to like move through it completely unfazed. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't even know that she did that. Like it was so nonchalant. Like it was so funny to me that the alien was like, do better, mom. Come on.
Who cares? Yeah.
But the fire, I liked it because at first you're like, oh, Emily Blunt thinks she's going to kill it with this, and it's not going to kill it. And it doesn't. It's fine. But that's not necessarily what she was doing. What she was doing was trying to trigger the sprinkler so she could sneak downstairs.
So she could move freely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. So it's like, oh, your shitty plan didn't work, Emily, you fucking idiot. And then she's like, as the sprinkler starts and she looks up and feels it on her face, you're like, oh, you're a genius, Emily.
Yes.
And she leans in and goes, I know.
Meanwhile, back at the docks, Cillian Murphy signs dive.
Yes.
She dives. He grabs one of the guys near him and pulls him up against one of the posts of the dock and stabs him basically as bait.
Yes, when the animal is charging down, not the animal, the creature or whatever the alien is, like charging down the dock towards them and just like knocking all of them.
And just destroying the dock as
Yeah.
it goes. Yeah.
Just like knocking all of the people all over the place, like killing them or at least hurting them quite a bit as they fall into boats or onto the water.
Right.
And then Cillian Murphy's trying to make sure it's going towards him and the guy he's like holding hostage right now and not
Right.
after Reagan. So he takes out his knife and stabs the guy in the leg so he starts screaming. And then the alien tracks in on that guy. And when the alien is just about to get there, he like jumps into the water while still holding because the way he's holding the guy hostage is he's taken the chain that was around his neck attached to cowballs. He takes that chain and is like around that guy's neck. So he holds on to that and jumps into the water. So that guy is still stuck there.
Yes. Yeah.
And the alien is like just destroying him. I loved it. I was like, that is the best way to handle this type of marauder.
Yes. Well, and he ends up almost choking underwater, but he finally gets loose of the noose.
Yes.
Just in time to surface and realize that the monsters can't swim.
Yes.
Just as Reagan pulls him into a boat.
Which like, if you're going to like cross any body of water in this world, you need a sailboat or a rowboat. Like you cannot motorboat in this world. You can't just be like,
Yeah.
or whatever you would do, right? You can't motorboat.
That's really going to put a damper on my sexual activities in this world, but you know.
The strip clubs in this universe have like signs that say no motorboating.
Yeah. But they then take off in the boat. Meanwhile, Emily Blunt has made it down to the furnace. She gets them out just in time because Marcus has been like sharing the tank. He passes out. She wakes him up. They're all in there with an extra tank now.
Yeah.
Sharing the tank, but they are no longer locked in because the towel is there.
Yes. And they have oxygen because of the extra tank. Yeah. So they're safe-ish. Yeah.
Right. Meanwhile, Cillian Murphy and Reagan make it to shore and they hear people and there's like a whole community of like houses. It's a little cult-like, but whatever. But Yaman Hansu is like the leader guy and he's like, hey, you guys figured out our thing. Happy to have you. Come on in. Like,
Yeah, sorry we didn't just tell you how to get here and that you should get here, but like glad you're here or whatever. It's very Lost season 2 vibes.
yeah. Which we've been talking about a lot in the Airbnb.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot last night, yeah.
A lot of Lost and comparing it to Severance and what we hope happens in future seasons of Severance that Todd still hasn't watched.
I'm just hoping for a smoke monster. Come on.
Ooh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Smoke monster, goat monster. Who knows?
That'd be bad.
Ooh, much like people like Baby Yoda, I'd do anything for Baby Emil. And I know that doesn't make any sense to you, but like the people know what I'm talking about.
Got to give the people what they want.
There you go. We do get the story of how they all ended up on this island. And it's that the army pretty quickly realized that the monsters could not swim. So they tried to load everyone onto boats.
Yeah.
But once people realized that, they were all pushing onto the boats. And because of the commotion, the screaming, it attracted the monsters. So out of 12 boats, only 2 launched. And these are the survivors of those two.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Now, they then tell him like, hey, here's how the hearing aid thing works. We're not here to take help from you. We're here to give it. Like, this is what we want to do. Broadcast from your radio station. And he's like, I'm willing to try, I guess. Like, sure. And so Cillian Murphy kind of sits down with Reagan. He's like, I'm sorry I doubted you. I was wrong. You were right. I'm nothing like your dad, but you are. And that's what's important. And she's like, okay. And then he goes out on the beach to be a sad boy with a picture of his wife, but then he finds the other boat, meaning that he and Reagan have essentially, like, in a way, led the monster here.
Okay, I don't think they did. And I'll tell you what
Not intentionally.
Well, I don't even think unintentionally. I think what happened was during the attack that allowed them to get away.
They untied that one boat.
Actually, we see what happens. So the alien jumped into the water and was trying to get them, but it starts to drown. And the other alien jumps on that specific boat.
Right.
That force rips that boat free of the dock. And then I think literally just like the tides or like, the current makes that boat drift to the island. Yeah, I don't think it's their fault necessarily, but that interaction or altercation at the dock led to this.
Right.
And because of it, he knows that there's just one on the island.
Right.
And so he like sprints, like, get in the fucking house. Like, and there's a guy there like pulling up a well, like water from the well. And that guy gets like fucking crushed.
The loudest bucket on earth.
Yeah, because he's like clanky, 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 clank. And then bam, he's gone. And then everyone saw that because everyone that was outside could see him. And they just start running and just getting destroyed.
Yeah. And they like save kids or whatever. And he and Yaman Hansu are like, get in the car. They're honking. They're drawing it away from the town towards the radio station.
Yeah, it's very Jurassic Park, right? Because like they're driving in a vehicle and this thing is like biting and scraping at the back of the car. And when they get there, after having sort of an intense chase scene, they get there and the leader of the island is like, oh shit, I think we went too fast. I think it went back. I got to go back. I got to go back to get them. I got to save my family or whatever. And then as he gets closer to because they've gotten inside sort of the outer perimeter of the radio station, he gets grabbed from under that like big door, like what do they call those doors?
Garage door.
It's like a big garage door, like an industrial garage door. It's like smacked and grabbed as he falls to the ground and then sucked out. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
He's dead.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back at the foundry, they're running out of air again. So she has to climb out to get another oxygen tank so that they can stay in. But as she does, the monster has now kind of climbed down through and ripped through part of the ceiling that is now wet and crumbling because of the sprinklers. He
actually climbed through that little tube that Cillian Murphy like would hop through and jump down on the bags of sand.
Well, because he kind of like ripped away at the sides of it a little bit. Yeah.
That's what I meant by like the aliens are small enough to fit through it, but it would have to fight. It would take a while. And it does. It took like a minute and a half for it to get through it. So, but it eventually does and starts like scraping into the actual foundry part that they're in.
And it does get Emily Blunt's leg at this point. So like they are in imminent danger. Meanwhile, back at the radio station, we get a full Raptors in the Kitchen Jurassic Park sequence, essentially.
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, it's in this room and we climb through this room and we climb through this room. But ultimately, we get to the point where Reagan has gotten to the room where they're playing Beyond the Sea off vinyl.
It's a radio station page. Like there's so much about the radio station that bothered me once we see it, but it's only because like they could have just been telling people to come here. Like, hey, the island is safe. Yeah. Make sure none of them are on a boat with you and then come here. Right.
Right.
Like that's all they have to say. And then just like record that and then repeat it.
Right.
Like we've seen that 1,000 times in horror movies like this, but what they do is worse than that.
But yeah, so she gets to the microphone. She switches from on air to playing live and broadcasting at the same time. So they can hear it outside the soundproof room, but then also it's going to broadcast. And to do this, Cillian Murphy basically sacrifices himself to a degree to allow her to do this. Now, once he gets her in there and she broadcasts, then the monster like stops because it can hear the hearing aid because she like slaps it up against the microphone.
Which like when she like violently hits the hearing aid against the microphone and like, listen, don't break the hearing aid. Like that's like the one thing that's saving. Like be gentle with that. When the whole water thing happened where Cillian Murphy like dives in the water and all that stuff, and it's revealed that the whole hearing aid was in his mouth pocket the whole time. I was like, that's smart because you do have to keep it safe, but like that's a lot to keep in your mouth for.
Right.
He was underwater for like a minute.
Or you're trying to hold your breath.
I know.
Yeah.
Like I would be gagging and like losing my, anyway, but they seemingly have the strongest cochlear implant I've ever come across, and it's fine.
Yeah. It's fine.
But I do think Cillian Murphy does make the same choice that John Krasinski makes, which I like.
Yes.
But because Reagan now knows how to defeat them and like is in a safer place to do that, it saves Cillian Murphy's character, which Emily Blunt will be thrilled about.
Right. But she broadcasts it, and then we get a great kind of plot mirroring of her brother getting the gun that Emily Blunt left on the table and shooting one because it's affecting the one that he like plays it on the radio and shoots that one.
Yeah, because he's listening. She told him to listen to the radio. So he's listening on his headphones. And then it like when he hears the squelching, the sound of her hearing aid, he unplugs the headphones and like turns it up. And then he's able to shoot it and save his mom and his sibling who's in the Moses carriage.
And at the same time that's happening, Reagan saves Cillian Murphy with like, it looks like a pipe of electrical conduit because it's got like the plug box on one side.
Yeah.
And just like shoves it through that thing's head. And it's basically both of them being like, we're strong enough to beat this.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
Paige, before we get into final thoughts, I did want Cillian Murphy just to sit down at the DJ booth and be like, we interrupt your apocalypse with a special broadcast, Survival. And then just be like, we're now WTFU radio for Wake the Fuck Up Radio and save your own ass. We've given you the tools. Here's what you got to do. But like none of that happens. Although we could start there. Like if the next movie in this timeline started there and started with them like getting the message out and like using the radio station the way God intended to send messages, not just music. You guys are crazy for not doing that. But I would love it. Anyway, Paige, what did you think about A Quiet Place 2?
I really enjoyed Reagan and Cillian Murphy's plot. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I did feel like it's a lot of the same beats with Emily Blunt's character. That said, I enjoyed the movie. It's really well made. All the performances are great.
Yeah.
It's shot incredibly well. The sound design is impeccable. It's so good. It just doesn't cover any super new ground, but it made me want to watch Day One.
Yeah.
Which I think, honestly, like it holds together as a movie. Like it's a fine sequel, and it's a sequel that made me want to invest more in this world of movies. So I think it did its job, and I'd watch it again. I enjoyed it.
Honestly, I do think I might watch this one again because knowing what I know about where the scares happen, I think I'd be fine.
Right.
But it is scary. Like it was a scary movie. It sort of did mess me up a little bit today watching it. But it's not as scary as like the movie we watched last week. Smile really messed me. Smile 2, I should say, really messed me up.
Yeah.
But I do want to know more about the world. It's an interesting place. You know, we have, and I know Cloverfield isn't a part of this universe, but we have 3 movies already of this universe, right? And I would love a 4th that continues past day 477 or wherever we leave off at the last day of this movie.
Right.
Because I want to know what happens.
Yeah.
Which I think is a telltale of a good movie. Like if you're like, oh shit, I want to know more. That's a good movie.
Right.
So it's not a bad movie. It just feels like almost a double beat of the first one because we don't learn a lot of new information.
Right. I would say I Want to Know More is great as long as you've answered the questions you've put forth in this movie where it's like, here's the story. And I'm like, oh, I want to hear more stories.
Yeah.
As opposed to you didn't finish this story.
Yeah.
But I do think this is not one of those cases of didn't finish the story. They absolutely did. And we just want to know more because it's an interesting, fascinating world.
Yeah. But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here it is with your fun facts.
Quiet
J.J.
Place,
Smith,
fun facts. So the youngest child of the Abbott family, not the baby, but the toddler in the last one that gets killed, was originally played by Cade Woodward. And in this one, he's played by Dean Woodward, his younger brother.
That's so like fortunate that he had a younger brother that looked a lot like him because like I didn't notice, but he does look like the right age, and kids age like so fast. Like you could see it so fast that there's no way they could have used the same character, and you would think that it was like the same boy from the first movie, but like 400 days younger.
Yeah.
So that's smart. That's fortunate.
Yes. Now, John Krasinski originally didn't want to do the sequel. He was like, I think it kind of stands on its own. And then the studio was like, no, it was so popular. Please do the sequel. Because that's how sequels happen a lot of the time. And so he came in and was like, okay, here are some of my ideas of like what would happen in a sequel. And they were like, cool, could you like write it? And he was like, I guess fine, but like then have somebody else direct it or whatever. And he wrote it and they're like, we love it, but we think you should direct it. So he says that he got like Jedi mind tricked into doing the sequel.
The studio sort of like voluntold him step by step he was going to write, direct, and be in this movie.
100%.
And then he was like, fine, but I'm dead. So like I won't be in much of it.
Right. But I mean, this makes me, I know he's getting more into directing. This makes me wish he would direct more because these are so good.
I agree. I think that like, and maybe this is just because one of my other favorite horror film directors came from the world of comedy, but like Jordan Peele is a good example of coming from the world of comedy and making great horror movies. And I think Jordan Peele's maybe a little bit better, but.
Well, and even Zach Krieger, who did Barbarian.
Yeah, Zach Krieger's another example of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he came from the whitest kids, you know.
And we were talking about this on the way to Quilt Town. Josh Rubin, who did Hard Eyes, which we have not had a chance to see yet, but like, have only heard good things about, also came from the world of comedy. Comedians make weirdly good horror writers and directors. And I would love to see more from John Krasinski, just from a directing standpoint in general. I think he does a really good job.
I could talk for about an hour and a half on why I think comedians make good creators in general, but it's all about storytelling and just subversion and like how that is like at the core of comedy.
Yes.
So you've got to be good at that to be funny and be a comic. And that's essentially the core of what storytelling is.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah.
There's a whole, I've prepared a whole PowerPoint presentation page that I can show you, but I'm not going to do it right now.
I'll very quickly, because not super long. A lot of comedians enjoy horror. There's a lot of overlap in that world. And I think it's because to be a successful comedian, you have to have kind of a different outlook on the world to then translate that into comedy, to make people think differently than they would about mundane things.
Sure, yeah.
And that's a lot of horror. And so I feel like they are natural bedfellows of people who recognize and embrace the unknown and things outside the norm.
Fair, yeah.
Anyway, so the original draft, the first draft of this movie, John Krasinski wrote it in 3.5 weeks. That's such a fast, like, that's so crazy.
And I realize it's not like a dialogue heavy movie, but like you have a whole story of movie in this movie. So it's not like it's not a movie, you know, like I hate talented people so much. Like that's very impressive.
I mean, well, this is when I was giving notes to people this past week for the screenplay thing I'm working on. And I was like, yo, you guys only have 5 weeks. And they're like, oh, I'll get it done. And I'm like, you won't. But like, I appreciate that you think you can, but like this unheard of.
They'll get it done. It just won't be at the level it needs to be. That's the problem. Yeah.
It won't be good. Yeah.
This is why like one of the moves in the 80s was just lock yourself in a hotel room for a weekend with Hulk Hogan and a barrel of cocaine and you'll come out with a script.
Yep. Now Cillian Murphy saw the first one, loved it.
Of course.
Was going to email John Krasinski about it and then chickened out. He was like, I was going to email him to congratulate him, but like, he doesn't need to hear it from me or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm sure he would have loved that. But it was very kind of, the second he got the opportunity to be in the second one, he was like, hell yeah.
I don't know anything about Cillian Murphy as a person, but all the interviews I've seen make it seem like he kind of thinks he's like, I don't want to bother people. Like, I don't want to bother people.
Yeah.
Knowing full well that like, you're a movie star. Like no one, like John Krasinski would be honored to have you reach out and be like, hey, loved your movie. It was great.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was like, he's probably dealing with a lot of other like, you know, people talking to him. Like, that's so crazy to me. But yeah, I mean, he's just like a humble guy, it seems, you know?
Yeah. I get the same vibe from Sebastian Stan sometimes where he's like, oh, thanks. Yeah, it was a good movie, I guess. And you're like, yeah, dude, it's nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, I did enjoy eating her ass in that movie.
Of course.
And not the way you think, you dirty-minded pervs.
But speaking of eating stuff, according to John Krasinski, in the opening scene where he walks through the town, Brody's Pizzeria is a nod to Chief Brody from Jaws.
Nice. Okay. Nice. I mean, this is like a monster. It is like a monster movie, much like Jaws is. I mean, different because it's aliens and not sharks, but still.
So Brian Tyree Henry was originally cast to play Yaman Hansu's character, but had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. Yaman Hansu wasn't hired until literally mid-production, once they got to a point where they had to film those scenes. Everything on this and the original is kind of last minute. So editing this movie was completed only a few days before the first premiere in New York City in 2020. And similarly, the first film completed editing the morning of its premiere at South by Southwest.
I told you it was 5 months, right? Like, that's crazy. I mean,
yes.
Like that's insane. Like,
This was also only shot in 47 days.
I know.
Which is also an insane schedule.
Which, like, So you're shooting it really fast, and the post-production is really fast, and literally the day it premieres, you're finishing it. That's nuts for a movie. That is for this level of a movie. Like I've done 48-hour film festivals that, like, of course you're editing right to the last minute because you only have 48 hours to make a movie. But like, or it's a short, it's like 7 minutes. It's not like this.
Right.
But it's not anywhere near this kind of quality.
Yeah.
You know, like the fact that they did it all on a time crunch, both production and post-production, and it's still this level is amazing to me.
Incredible. And I'll finish on this one. The map shows that they are on the coast of Stamford, Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah.
And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts page. Let's talk a little bit about box office. And so this movie came out in 2021, I believe. Let me check the release date.
2020.
It was May 28th, 2021 is what it says.
Oh, okay. So it says it's, premiere in New York was 2020, but then I don't think it got a wide release because of COVID, and I think they held it.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. But it did hit theaters 2021 in May, and it was number 1 that weekend, just to sort of place it in time. Number 2 was Cruella. Number 3 was Raya and the Last Dragon. Number 4 was Spiral, and number 5 was Wrath of Man. What do you think it brought in its opening weekend, Paige?
I feel like this probably brought in about 30 mil that opening weekend.
Paige, it brought in $47 million.
Good for them.
I just realized, though, we didn't talk about the budget. What do you think the production budget was for it? Do you know?
I don't know the exact amount. I do know that it was 3 times more than the original. I don't remember what they spent on the original, but I would imagine that the original was probably made for somewhere in the neighborhood of 10. So this is probably has a budget of about 27 to 35.
So the original budget was 17 million, which is not a lot. That's pretty good.
Okay. No, that's still really good, and it looks incredible for that amount of money. So that means this was closer to like 50.
It's 61. It was $61 million.
61.
Yeah. Which if you adjust for inflation, it's like $71 million today, even though there's only been 4 years.
I bet they made it back.
Yeah, we'll get there. It was number 1 its first weekend. We talked about that. It was number 2 its second weekend, but it was number 1 again its third weekend. So it did really well. It was top 2 for its first 5 weeks.
Oof.
It was top 5 for its first 7 weeks.
Jeez.
It was in theaters for 13 weeks total. What do you think it made domestically in that 13-week run?
I think in that 13-week run, it makes about 150.
You're so close. It was $160.2 million. It also brought in an additional 136.4 internationally. Ooh. For a total of almost $300 million. It was $296.6 million. Yeah.
These things print money, man.
It did it very, very well. If you adjust that 296 worldwide for today's dollars, that would be $349.3 million today. It's crazy.
Incredible.
It's crazy good. Yeah.
So good.
Just to place it in the franchise as far as box office is concerned, it is second best. The number 1 movie in the A Quiet Place franchise is the first one. It made $334 million worldwide. This one, of course, we just said made 296, and A Quiet Place Day 1 makes $261 million.
Nice.
So on a combined budget of $145 million, they've brought in almost $900 million.
Incredible.
In return on that investment.
Nice.
It's crazy. It's a crazy good franchise. They have not, I looked into it, they have not, as far as I have seen, greenlit a 4th in the franchise, but I would not be shocked to see that happen.
Day 1, I think, did really well too.
It did. That's what I just said. Like Day 1 brought in $261 million worldwide.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why John Krasinski may want to do other things creatively,
sure.
But I'm sure the studio's like, hey, John, we emailed you seeing if you wanted to do another one. Would you want to maybe write it? Like,
no, here's what's definitely going to happen. And this is a good thing. Like, this might not, I realize that to some of you who are not in the industry, this might not sound like a good thing, but I promise it is. They're going to hand this to a promising up and coming horror writer or filmmaker to take their spin on it for number 4. And there are a lot of good up and coming horror writers. This is why I get so mad about blockbuster movies that aren't good, because you're wasting money on a thing that you could be spending money on bringing new creators up and making good things. This is one where all of them have been good, great. Now it's the 4th one. Give somebody a chance to really shine. That's how we get people like Akilah Cooper, who ended up making Mithrigan and any number of things because James Wan started letting her write his stuff. So like, I would love to see something like that for the future of them bringing somebody up and giving them a shot at it and seeing kind of what a new perspective could bring. I think that would be great.
Yeah, especially if John Krasinski's just like a producer on it and like helping like story by or whatever. Like,
sure,
as long as he's still involved, I think it'll be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's your box office. So Paige, do you want to hit us with that scary scale?
Sure. Our scary scale is a scale of 1 to 10 of how scary we found the film today, with 1 being Ghostbusters, 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd.
I'm going to give it a 4. Like, there were some scary moments, but it wasn't super, super scary. There aren't a lot of jump scares, but the ones that are there are effective.
I'm going to give this a 3, in part because, as many of you know from being on the podcast for a while, disasters like apocalypse scenarios are both where I do think I would excel with my bread skills, but B, my particular brand of fear of desperate people in desperate situations. And so I found this very, very tense, but I enjoyed it very, very much. So I have it at a 3.
Yeah.
And that's your scary scale. Hey, Todd, do you have any reviews for us?
I do. This week, I'm going to read a Spotify comment from one of our most recent episodes. And this one is, of course, our Night of the Comet episode. And this one came in literally 4 minutes ago from Must Love Comics. And they say, okay, but Battle of the B-movie stars, Bruce Campbell and Elvira versus Reggie Bannister and Tom Atkins. Come on. And that does sound like a movie I'd watch. But honestly, I wouldn't want any of them to die. Like, I kind of want them to be just a team together.
Yeah.
And like having to take on other monsters. That would be fun.
Oh, I just got another text from Armando that says, hey, can you come pick me and Mikey up from the casino? He lost like a lot of money and then tried to pay it off using stuff we stole from the buffet. The police are here. Oh, geez. And we're really scared. So yeah, I think we got to wrap this up.
I just want to reveal that Mondo is sitting on the couch next to me laughing.
I know.
And he came in about 25 minutes ago looking very upset and very, I just woke up vibes.
Sorry, bro. Got to make the content.
But anyway, thank you so much, Must Love Comics, for that awesome Spotify comment. And if you want to have me read your 5-star Apple review or Spotify comment, leave us one of those things and I'll do just that. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast. Some might call it a sister podcast called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back. And I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. Have an amazing week, guys. Bye. Wake the fuck up, radio nerds.